I was dancing.
She was dancing. Levi Johnny Griffin, and this is my beautiful wife,
Portia Griffin.
And we are discussing Louisiana coming out, y'all. We are discussing Genesis chapter 30. There is so much going on in Genesis chapter 30. A lot of family rivalry. So if you have family rivalry, you'll get it. If you don't have any family rivalry, well, if you have a family, you're going to have some
I'm about to say, I don't know no family that don't have no rivalry.
Yeah, so you're going to enjoy this one. So Genesis chapter 30.
Boom.
Ready to do this? Ready to do this?
Yeah.
You can't see the laptop underneath the camera.
All right.
All right, here we go. Genesis 30, chapter 1, verse 1.
Sarah versus Rachel. All right. Genesis 30:1. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Jacob became angry with her and said, Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children?" Verse 3. Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family together through her."
So this is what's going on, and I don't want to give it away, but a lot of times we attribute things to God that have nothing to do with God. but nonetheless, this is what's going on. Rachel is saying, "Hey, Jacob, why haven't you given me any kids?" Jacob gets upset and like, "Am I God? What do you mean? Why am I not giving you any kids?" Because Leah's spitting out babies like nobody's business. So now Rachel is like, "Yo, why haven't you given me kids?" And Jacob's like, "What do you mean? Am I God? I can't make you conceive. I don't know, I don't have, that's not within my control. If we're doing what married couples do and no babies are coming, that is the Lord's business. That's not our business. I'm not withholding love from you." So then Rachel, which I'm sure was all a setup just to get to this point. So Rachel says, "Okay, take my handmaiden and have children with her, and I will build my lineage through her." Now, if we remember Genesis chapter 16, the culture allows for a woman to take her handmaiden. Her husband can have children through her handmaiden, and they be considered hers. We see this in Genesis 16:2 with Sarah and Abraham. So she said to Abraham, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Same thing. Abraham agreed to what Sarah said. So Abraham was like, "Hold up, you gonna give me, your handmaiden?" All right. And you see this same thing happen with Jake. And I think it was more of a burden. They just didn't want to get yelled at by their wives, so they conceded, because it was the wives that came up with this idea. So you see this comparison between Sarah, who God had given the promise to, deciding to take kind of matters in our own hand. And you see Rachel, the descendants of the promise, deciding also to take the matters into their own hand.
Wait a minute, we gotta do better. I'm thinking of Adam and Eve.
Yeah, no.
All right. Verse 4. So she gave him her servant Bilhah. As a wife. I think I want to say it's another name I'm thinking of. Okay. Jacob slept with her. Verse 5. And she became pregnant and bore him a son. Verse 6. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son." Because of this, she named him Dan.
Okay, so we know the Danites, the tribe of Dan, right? So Bilhah, Rachel's handmaiden, had a child, and she claimed the child, named him Dan. From the Danites, we have, if you go to the book of Judges, who came from the Danites? Samson. So Samson was one of the judges. He's kind of the most notable Danite in history. But after that, the Danites just kind of got raided. And after that, they were just kind of diaspora, and they just kind of washed away. They vanished. So we don't know where the tribe of Dan is today, right? So when she says she bore a child and God has vindicated me, he had listened to my plea and given me a son, I'm wondering, did God vindicate you? Because it seemed like you took matters in your own hand like Sarah did. We're attributing things to God that God didn't do. God gave me this man. Did you meet him in church? Did you pray on it? Did the Holy Spirit confirm that this was the one? Or did you just want a man and go, God gave me a man? The devil could have gave you that man. And you were thanking God for him, right? Say, oh, God gave me a son. This son where is he now? Who knows where the Danites and the descendants are, right? So we really have to be more, we can't want something so badly that we take matters in our own hand and just say, oh, this is God.
We need to be patient.
We have to be patient. We really, really have to be patient. Yeah. All right. The Assyrians, that's who attacked them. All right.
All right. Verses 7 through 13. Rachel's servant, Bilhah, conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, I have had a great struggle with my sister and I have won. So she named him, that's different, Naft. That's a different one.
I think that's Naphtali. I may have cut it off.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, when Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, what good fortune. So she named him Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, how happy I am. The women will call me happy. So she named him Asher.
And Asher just means happy. And hopefully you guys can hear me. I just realized the mic isn't pointing kind of down between us. It's kind of pointing at Porsche. So hopefully if I talk loud enough, you guys can hear me great. But I kind of named this slide Rachel versus Leah, the arms race or the baby race. And it's ironic that she's saying, hey, I've had Gad, which kind of means good fortune. So she named him one baby good fortune and the other one happiness. And it seems like she's kind of flaunting her babies around. Now, remember at this time in history, a woman's value really was in giving her husband boys, to work the fields, to tend the sheep, strong laborers. They can carry on the name. They can fight. They're warriors. So if you can give your husband sons, not just babies, but boys, then it was, you may have been considered less than. Maybe more so in your own eyes than in your husband's eyes, which is definitely the case here, because Rachel feels like she's in this massive battle with Leah, her sister, because they're both married to Jacob. So much so that she's like, God has forsaken me, or God has vindicated me. She already had the love of Jacob. Her husband loved her. He married Leah out of trickery. He actually loved Rachel. So you have his love, you have his affection, you have, so what more did you need? But she's in this very, very unhealthy competition with her sister that is causing her grief and causing her all this pain and all this stress. To the point where she's giving her husband other women to be with to have babies. And then, she'll eventually pop out some babies of her own, and she's naming these babies all this stuff, good fortune and joy. And it really isn't good fortune and joy because she still wants more babies because Leah's having more babies. So she's in this big competition, and competition will steal your joy.
Come on.
If you're in a marriage and you say, oh, we don't have as many cool Instagram pics as the next husband and wife, then that'll rob your joy. Yep. Because I can guarantee you there's been some tears shed behind those Instagram pics. No one is crying or arguing with their husband, arguing with their wife. And then they don't take those pictures of the arguing. They don't take pictures of the crying. They don't take pictures of the nights where, he's sleeping on the couch or, she slams the door. There's no Snapchat filter for that.
Yeah.
So you don't see on Facebook, you normally see the best. Right? On IG, you see the best. And if you're comparing yourself and your life, your ups and downs to someone's best 100%, it's foolishness.
Yeah.
So if Rachel is saying Leah's had 3 boys, I hadn't had a boy yet, it's foolishness. God has for you what's for you. And it's not like you're doing something wrong. It's not like your husband doing anything wrong. There's nothing on earth humanly that can be done for this. You just have to believe God and have joy, not because you had a boy or had something that gave you joy. Have joy because you know that God is going to favor you. And even if he doesn't, he's still God. Find your joy in the God of peace and not in your husband or your wife or kids or cars or things. If your joy is in outside things, it's going to be hard to maintain it. If your joy is in your husband, what happens when he's mad at you? If your joy is in your wife, what happens when she burns the brisket? If your joy is in your car, what happens when it gets wrecked or when it gets old or, you've never made brisket.
No.
But you barbecued before.
Challenge.
So your joy just can't be in outside things, or you'll always be chasing outside things.
Yes.
Should you want to make your wife happy? Absolutely. The God says you should love your wife like Christ loved the church. I texted that to my wife today and just told her how much I loved her and how much I appreciated her and how important she is to me. But my love for her isn't because of her. My love for her is because I love God and I have a covenant with the Lord to honor his daughter.
Yep.
Whether she's, acting right or acting crazy, my love for her isn't based on her.
And vice versa. I sent to him. I honor and respect him because I honor and respect God.
Yep. That's it. And so just changing your focus can make, what do they say? Just changing your perspective. Mm-hmm. Just changing your perspective. When we was out on the ranch, we went on the ranch with me, my wife, and her parents. And my thing was perspective.
And the kids.
And
Xander and CJ.
And CJ. What up, CJ? What up, Xander?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all should be watching this. Make sure you leave some comments.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing was perspective. But anyway, moving on to the next slide.
All right. Verse 14.
You like that title, right?
Okay. Verse 14 through 18 was no, because I'm the only wife. There's no first or second. Like that whole main and side. Ain't no main or side. I'm only. Okay? Let's get that straight. Okay? All right. Verse 14 to 18.
They don't even know that. The slide says Leah's first wife rights.
Only wife rights in this house. During wheat harvest, Reuben went out into the fields to find some mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Wasn't it enough you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?" "Very well," Rachel said. "He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. "He must sleep with me. You must sleep with me," she said. "I've hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a 5th son. Then Leah said, "God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband." So she named him Issachar.
Yeah, Issachar. You have to.
I was thinking of like Isaac.
Like Isaac?
Yeah.
Issachar. So Isaac Char. I'm just teasing. So there's some nuances here in the scriptures that I really, really, really want you to catch. Okay. One of the nuances is the verbiage that Leah says to Rachel. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read it slow and see if you catch it. And just so you know, Rachel is who Jacob worked ultimately like 20 odd years for.
Yep. Because
he worked 7 years for Rachel. He ended up having to marry Leah first by trickery. Laban tricked him. The father of of Rachel and Leah tricked him. Mm-hmm. So he ended up having to marry her. So the 7 years he worked ended up being for Leah. And then he had to work another 7 years for Rachel. And then like another 6 or 7 years for money for the flocks and enough to sustain them. So all 20 years, all he really wanted was Rachel.
Yep.
But he ended up marrying Leah first, Laban says, because she was the oldest. The real reason is he wanted Jacob to continue working for him basically for free.
She just a pawn in all this.
Just a pawn in all this. However, Leah did go along with the scheme by hook or by crook, right? So whether she was hooked into it or whether she was crooked and just went along with it, she went along with it and became the first wife, even though she's not the wife Jacob wanted. But the first wife has rights. Mm-hmm. She has, if they have 18 wives, normally the first one rules the harem. Yeah. And the other wives come to her for things. So even though Leah isn't the wife that he wanted, she still has first wife rights. And you see this when Rachel comes to her and says, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too? Took away my husband. He never wanted you.
He's supposed to be all mine.
He never wanted you. But since she was technically the first wife, she has those first wife rights. So I'm sure Rachel just kind of went, what? But she says, okay, it's been some years now, and I'm sure she's used to Leah kind of being somewhat the boss, maybe. So even though that's not who he wanted, she still has positional authority, if you will. So Rachel plays along, says, okay, since Jacob loved Rachel, I'm sure those are the two that lived together in the main house. And then Leah had probably a tent outside of the main tent. So she says, hey, I'll send Jacob to you. Give me some mandrakes. I'll send Jacob to you, and y'all can sleep. You can sleep in the tent with him tonight. And that was the trade. And
Leah made sure she caught him. Come with me this night.
And that's exactly what happened. Oh, no, I bought you. Come over here. And she ended up getting pregnant and naming the baby Issachar.
All right. Verse 19 to 21. Verses 19 to 21. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said, God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she named him Zebulon. Mm-hmm. Sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Yeah, Dinah.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole war that starts behind Dinah. And not her fault. She was mishandled, and her brothers, I think it was Simeon and Levi, goes in and conquers and kills people because they mistreated her.
Is that when she got raped?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they went to circumcise them, and then they went out and killed them all when they circumcised them. So that's coming.
I promise you don't need soap operas.
Oh yeah, the Bible is deep. So I titled this slide, A Baby Won't Make Him Love You, or did God give you that? Or seek God for joy during tough situations. I named it one, A Baby Won't Make Him Love You, because a baby won't make him love you. For all them women out there like, I'm going to just have a baby by him. That is disastrous.
Don't you bring that child in that hot mess situation.
Disastrous. I've seen this backfire countless times, So he marries you, then y'all get divorced because he never loved you. He never wanted you. He never had a relationship with the Lord. It's just so many disastrous things just because, and I'm going to just be real. If there's any children watching, fast forward 30 seconds. Before all the adults, you have to realize if you're fornicating, I'll put it that way, and you're doing things, you'll make these emotional ties, that really shouldn't be there. So there's a hormone that is released during sex. It is a hormone that bonds you to the person that you're having sex with. It also a lot of studies have been done on sex. This hormone makes you more prone to forgive the person, makes you more prone to love the person, more prone to overlook their shortcomings. Okay. So this is beautiful inside of a marriage, right? You've already made a commitment to be with this person for the rest of your life. And God uses sex as kind of a glue that helps you get over hardships and get over mistakes and forgive and move past, because it's so intimate.
Love hormone.
The love hormone. So the problem is you've already made the psychological, rational decision to love them. and to be with them. And then you have the love hormone that helps you, continue that decision on through the rest of your life. So you've already made the rational brain decision. And then you have sex as a bonding agent that helps with the take care of the emotional portion. The problem is if you get the emotional portion without having first made the logical decision, right? So you dating this person for a month, you're sleeping with them, and you have this love hormone making these emotional bondings, and the person smokes or drinks or is not a Christian, but you've already been bonding, right? So you kind of look over that and you look over this and you look over that. So now you have a baby by them or you marry them secondly. And then later, a year, 2 years later, you go back and go, man, this is a horrible person. They beat me or they were cheating on me or they didn't, they never loved me or they didn't want children. So you find all of this stuff. And after you've gone through years and years of this emotional hardship, the logic comes in. You go, man, this was a horrible idea. Right? But if you do it the right way, you have the logic where you say this person loves Jesus. If they love God, they can love me. They are, if it's a man, you look at the woman and says she can support my mission because God should have. If you're a man, you should have a mission. Mm-hmm. You want a woman, men say I'll need her to submit. That submission. She can't sub if you don't have a mission. Mm-hmm. As Pastor John Gray would say. So a man, you should have a mission. And
also Miles Monroe.
That's it. You should have a mission. So who said it first then? Was it Miles or was it John Gray?
Miles was older than John Gray.
But that doesn't mean he said it. Well, he had to really.
So he's past and has history.
No, I love Miles.
All his teachings is all over YouTube. So.
No, I think it's awesome. I love Miles Monroe.
We never know. But it's true. It's from the word.
So, you just want to make your decision from a stance of holiness, mm-hmm. Whether you're picking a spouse, and then from there get married, and then allow the love hormone to smooth out rough patches and bring you closer and bond you, versus being glued to someone first and then later finding out that they didn't love God. I've heard people say, well, they don't go to church or whatever, but as a man, I've heard women say this. Tons of women said this. Because I would go to like these singles groups before I got married and all this stuff. And I said, I want someone that was, that was in love with Jesus. And they go, well, you should just pick someone and then let your Jesus bring them to Jesus. And a woman is to be led. Oh, I got this all the time. I got this all the time for years and years and years. And they're like, you don't have to be single, Johnny, just pick a woman, pick it, somebody, and then just lead them to Christ, lead them into a relationship, lead them because you're a leader. You're the man. And I was like, oh, brother. She needs to have her own relationship with Jesus because my relationship with Jesus ain't gonna help. If I'm mad at her, she's mad at me. She needs to have her own.
I love cooking. That's like going to tell somebody to go pick up the ingredients and that's it. Yeah, just go pick up the ingredients. You'll know what to do after that. Like what? No, if you don't know how to cook, if you know how to cook, you will. But you know what I mean? Like it's like you just giving them like now do with it what you need. No. Yeah. I got on the flip side some stuff that I was always told to me because I was holding myself into marriage. One thing that was always told to me was, well, how are you going to know what you're getting into if you never get into it before you get married, if you catch my drift? And I'm like, that's not the most important. It's important, don't get me wrong, but that's not the most important thing to be worrying about when you're trying to find a soulmate, not find a soulmate, but find a partner, find someone you're supposed to marry under God, to create a covenant with. That's kind of the last thing. That's the extra, the bonus to the whole marriage. There's way more things we need to make sure is on one accord before I even make sure that is on one. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And guys, we hear the same thing. I actually had a pastor tell me that once. And he just like, and he was this was just guy talk, and maybe I shouldn't say that on camera, but it was just guy talking. It was just a bunch of guys. We were just in there. So it was really just guys talking. And really what he said, he was saying, he'd been married for a million years. He's like, man, if I was getting married today, I'd be worried, not, kind of testing out first, because women are basically so easy, and a lot of women are, kind of, so you don't.
Well, we had to give a testimony on our part. We had conversations. Okay, it's okay to talk about it. If you're so worried about that part, which should not be your most important priority in the entire relationship, but have a conversation about it. That goes a long way.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about what you like, what you don't like, what your interests are. If you have fantasies, like explain that so that you all can be on one accord, or find out that you are not on one accord on some things. And then that's some other things that you now have to put in your mind to decide if you want to continue, because it is going to be a part of your life. So just that little input. Okay.
Cool. All right. So she also said that God gave her 6 sons. Like, did God give you 6 sons, or did you kind of manipulate your way into 6 sons and seek God for joy in rough situations?
All right. Verses 22 through 30. Verses 22 to 24. All right. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph and said, may the Lord add to me another son.
So she got a son, wants another son. She says God has taken away her disgrace. She's not been disgraced. So this is all self-inflicted in her mind. Some of our biggest traumas we create. You know, they're all going to laugh at me. They're all going to hate me. No one's thinking about you. They're not. That's, and if they are, what difference does it make? Run with the Lord and let everybody else just be left in the wind. Chase after God, and anyone that is, thinks less of you because of your past or because of your race or because of your gender, just chase after the Lord. Make sure you're walking in righteousness according to the Bible, holiness according to the Bible. Don't tune out voices that are trying to pull you to holiness. You need to listen to those voices. But outside of that, she wasn't disgraced. In her mind, she just was being competitive.
Yeah, she disgraced herself in her head.
In her mind, yeah.
All righty. Verses 25 to 30. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you. But Laban said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination, that the Lord has blessed me because of you. He added, name your wages and I will pay them. Jacob said to him, you know how I have worked for you, and how your livestock has fared under my care. The little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. But now, when may I do something for my own household?
So basically, Jacob is saying, I've sown, you've prospered under me. He's saying this to Laban, his father-in-law, and the guy he's been working for all these years. He's saying, listen, I have sown and you've reaped a harvest off of my labor and hard work. And now it's time for me to reap something for myself.
Verses 31 to 36. What shall I give you? He asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied. But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled and spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted and speckled goat. They will be my wages. And my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on the wages you have paid me. Any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark-colored, will be considered stolen. Agreed, said Laban. Let it be as you have said. That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked and spotted, and all the speckled and spotted female goats, all who had white on them, and all the dark-colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks.
So Laban is being crooked.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob says, hey, I need to work for myself. I've worked all these years for free. And Laban is like, okay, I'll pay you. Take all of these, type of speckled or spotted lambs. And so they agreed to that. And then he had like his sons take all of the speckled and spotted lambs and hide them 3 days away. So Laban is basically cheating.
He's a trickster.
Yeah, Jacob out of money. We need to change the smoke detectors in here to keep beeping. Beep. So if y'all hear beeping, it's smoke detectors. Because this Bible study is so fire.
All right, verses 37 to 43. Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys.
So basically Laban tried to trick Jacob. God favored Jacob and Jacob became filthy rich. Yeah. So I titled these slides, "If God be for you," and we know the scripture, "If God be for you, who can be against you?" So even though Laban tried to trick Jacob, it did not prevail. And I'll just end with this kind of encouragement for you guys. Just know, if God be for you, no one can be against you. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you." And he says all these things. So, shelter, clothes, all your material things will be added to you if you seek God first and his righteousness. Be working excellence on your job, even if you hate your job. Working excellence in your marriage, even if you're going through a rough patch. It will pay off. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. Go home, apologize. I've apologized to my wife. I'm like, "Babe, I missed the mark on this. I apologize." It's humanity.
Vice versa.
Apologize, move forward, and try not to make the same mistake. That way you get better and better and better every single day.
Amen. Hit it right on the nail. Cool.
Love you guys.
Please like, share, comment. I was about to say subscribe, but you can subscribe on YouTube. We do have our word today on there.
Yep.
And we'll be getting a little more heavily, so please be following on that. Mm-hmm. But yes, please like, share our page. We love to get on here. We love you all. We pray something that was said touched you, delivered you, and set you free. Amen. Please start watch parties and share, okay?
Share.
This is
Peace.